Okay, so this is going to be the Vertigo CT and T side position guide, so let's get into it. We're going to start with the B lurker. So your B lurker is obviously going to come this way at the start of the round, so their main job is to first of all, take the position of just under the stairs and get all this control. And then once they've got this kind of control, is to gather info about what's happening on the B site. So this might be if there is an AWP B or there's a rifle B. This might be how much of the utility has the B anchor used. Whereabouts is this B anchor? So is he maybe is he playing on default? Is he playing near the pillar? Is he up close, maybe on white, or is he patio? Not necessarily taking an entry fight onto B always, but getting info about where they are. Again, then, the B alert has to be listening to his team's info to know when it might be the right time to strike up and get like an entry kill, maybe on pillar, maybe it is killing the guy patio, maybe even taking this fight default. You never want to just come up as the B lurk without any info, maybe in a 5v5 just swing default, because 9 times out of 10, the guy here, or the guy playing on B is going to kill you when you're peeking into him. So you want to be reacting off your team's info, because if maybe they've got 3A and then definitely one mid, and the guy maybe is pushed up mid, you know you might be able to have a 1v1 up here, so you can start walking up and taking the angles. But if the mid guy's close, maybe he's even on B, you don't want to be taking straight fight. Obviously using your utility right at the beginning of the round as well, knowing any of the flashes from here to blind off the AWP, or knowing the good flash off the wall here to blind the AWP at the beginning of the round, and then just reacting and playing off info. Then we have the mid lurker. So the mid lurker is obviously going to come solo mid. He might come to here at the start of the round, or he might go up the ladder. So the role of the mid lurker is to get control at least of the bottom mid area, I'd say like up to here, and make sure this is all clear so they know no CTs are pushing up. Now, it's also important about the mid player that, again, you know, you're getting into these kind of positions waiting and calling the information that you hear, maybe the rotates, towards your IGL wherever he might be on the map. Also, you can play in tangent with the B player. Let's say, you know, you do get the pick on this guy here. Let's say you do get the pick on this guy here, and you keep moving up. You're maybe playing quite an aggressive mid lurk here. If you've got the timing and you can jump through to the window, this is where you want to be calling your B player to be taking the fight as well. So wherever this guy is on B, you know, you're going to be in a 2v1 at 2 different angles, you might be able to get the fight. It's also important as a mid lurker that you're not just baiting your entire team. So, you know, you're not just waiting for your team to execute B and then you coming super late and trying to flank. You've got to be actively like playing with your team. So this is done by, you know, getting info out for the team. It might be, you know, doing maybe a molly smoke, you know, on the window here. Since you've not really got anywhere else, you might be able to use your utility, drawing utility toward mid, or drawing a rotate, so that a rotator, who we'll get to later, if you do a util set kind of like this, you might pull a guy off A toward mid, so then if your team wants to hit A, you know, you've got less people there. You can't, as a mid player, be a passive lurk. You have to be active and looking to get info and cool about the rotates. And it goes similarly to the B lurk as well, is you can't just be passive, you have to be active and react at the right time and learn when to use your util to get out the CT's util or get out a CT rotation. Okay, then we get to the AWPer's role on this map. So the AWPer is mainly going to be going toward the A ramp area, and his job is just to take up the, you know, these initial fights that are going around, maybe the crane peak here, or he might be back on the crates here, you know, trying to peek these kind of angles, the jump peak here, maybe even swing up to clear gap here, you know, making sure these kind of angles are clear. But his main job is to be supporting his team up the ramp, maybe with flashes like, not like that, like this, to flash off ramp, maybe flashing up the right side to help your more aggressive ramp players take the space. Then once your AWPer, you know, he gets up toward the site, he's going to be the one trying to maybe look off, you know, hold down more of some of these tighter angles of Vertigo, maybe peeking toward headshot, maybe peeking, you know, toward heaven and taking these fights. But most of the time, your AWPer on this map is just holding down the long angles and then playing support, ready to support any of his A players when necessary. Okay, so then we have the dedicated A support player. So the A support player's job is to, in combination with the AWP, set up your A ramp player to go for picks. So your A short player might be the one, you know, coming at the start of the round and throwing one of the A smokes, either leaving the gap in the left or the right, and trying to take these fights and create a bit of space early on to set up your A ramp player for more kills. So he might be the guy, you know, running in first, maybe trying to take some of these picks, while your other A ramp player might be going up short here, you know, clearing this out and swinging off this guy's contact. But the A support's job player is to set up the AWPer if he wants to go for a pick on ramp, or help his other ramp player get picks. That might be for entry fragging, so he can trade and creating space. Or it might be just using his utility correctly on the ramp so his team can get space. Then by the time he's got no utility, his default might end toward top ramp. Then he knows, okay, I'm going to be entry fragging onto the A site. Okay, and then the final A ramp player is just your A ramp player. That's what he's called. This guy is going to be the guy. He's going to be probably one of your more better riflers on the team. This is going to be the guy you want taking the fights on ramp, and you're going to constantly want getting these opening picks. So he's going to be the one that might be, trying to run up gap first, throwing a Molotov like this, peeking behind it, trying to get these quick kills. He might be the one running up behind the A support, maybe running through the smoke and trying to fight this top ramp area quickly. He isn't going to be using his utility early on in the round. He might want to chuck his, util back down on ramp in case he dies, but he's going to be the one taking these fights, these initial fights. So your A ramp player again, so then he might be more toward gap, maybe toward short, and taking these short fights and entering in with the team. If he's not, maybe the AWP's got that covered off, or one of the guys has rotated back to cover that off. He's going to be the guy going up with your A support player and duo entering the site. But your goal as any one part of the ramp positions is to take this area of the map. So take this top ramp area up to here, and then clear out the close bit of short, or gap, kind of known, like up to this kind of position here. So imagine a line there, and a line straight across the top of the ramp. Obviously sandbags also mollied out. And you've got that control that as the A players, your default is over. And you should do this in using at least the least utility possible, or at least in a utility win. And what I mean by that is you've used less utility to take the space than the CT's used to defend it. Okay, so that's it for the Vertigo T side position, so we'll get into the CT position. So starting again, first you've got your B anchor on the CT side. Sure, B anchor's job is to obviously just hold the B site and anchor the B site to the best of his abilities. So he's going to want to know loads of util about how to re-smoke off the stairs from different positions, maybe molly off the stairs from different... He's going to learn as many kind of weird off angles like such, like kind of like this, maybe even, off angles like this, to try and stop and try and multi-frag when the T's do end up coming to the site. He's able to get aggressive, kind of up toward the stairs if the T's aren't coming to the round, even getting into positions like this. And if they're all called toward ramp, your B anchor is the guy that's mainly going to be doing these kind of flanks, because he's able to come through, clear that it's not B. But overall, your B anchor's job is pretty similar to other anchor positions on the other maps I've already covered. His job is to look after this B site, and he's on his own. If he needs to rotate, his first rotate is going to be the mid to B guy that we'll get onto in a minute. So the next position on Vertigo is your mid to B player. So your mid B player is someone who's most common spot is going to be around the window area here. Their responsibility is to lock down the middle part of the map. So this can be them getting super aggressive by mollying or smoking, jumping into ladder and taking a lot of control. Or it could be them playing super passive by playing maybe back on the boosted angle here and just watching the window cross. They're going to be the first rotate toward B in case there's any action. So if this is the case and there's B action, so he rotates off, he's going to want to call the A rotator to come take mid, or the AWPer to come take mid. Whichever is, closer towards mid at that point. But overall, the job of this A mid to B player is to hold down middle to the best that they can, use their util effectively, and to get a good idea of how many T's are in middle and when's best to rotate off either to A or to B, and when to play a more defensive angle. So it's not obviously great that if you're a mid player, you're playing super aggressive every round, because if you do that, then the T's are going to catch on and easily pick you, and if you lose this part of the map, you're going to be weaker across the rest of the maps. You're going to want to learn good passive angles like this. If you sit here, for example, the T's can walk through this gap here, and you can see them, so you can just hold this, and you know when one's coming up. Okay, and then we've got the AWPer's role on this map. On Vertigo, they normally play in the mid/AWP position on A. So this means that your AWPer is going to be commonly found kind of like, imagine the map goes in half like this. They're going to be playing in this kind of half of the map. So they might be playing positions like this if they're helping the mid players, if they're coming up mid. Or they're going to be helping the ramp players. They might be more aggressive on ramp. So like these kind of positions up here, taking the ramp fights. They could be peeking crane at the beginning of the round like so. But again, like on T side, the AWP's main job on this map is to stay mobile, whether they're up on A ramp, maybe they're in gap, or maybe they're in mid, maybe they're sometimes on B, and to be locking down the longer range of sight lines that it's hard to win rifle fights for. So it might be taking angles like this, it might be playing all the way back in heaven like this in hell, or it might be playing right up in heaven like this, playing angles like this, or playing right up on headshot, holding down these sort of angles like this. And then the AWPer on this map also is able to support his A ramp player he's an A anchor player. Let's say the A anchor player is getting the A ramp. Your A anchor player is getting pushed. You know, he can throw flashbangs to help on the ramp, but mainly he's just supporting the A players if he's not in a better position himself. Always ready to rotate toward mid. Most of the time, your A mid, like your AWPer, is going to be the first call to rotate over to mid if there's presence, so he can lock down these angles, and then the mid player, who's normally in the window area, can go over to help B. Okay, so then we've got the A rotate player. So your A rotate player is going to be the one that you want throwing any of the ramp utility at the beginning of the round. So that might be, whichever way you throw the ramp smoke like this. And the reason is for this is because you want your A anchor to try and get the deepest position possible on ramp to set him up at the beginning. So that might be him, the A anchor using this kind of smoke at the beginning of the round if they're pushing up ramp to play positions like this. He might be then the one that you get onto sandbags to jump peek. I'll just show you what that looks like. You're going to be him to get into these kind of positions if he's got a smoke left, so he can jump peek. So you want your A anchor will be in these kind of positions. Your A rotate player is going to be kind of the second guy to always rotate off the site after the AWPer. He's going to be mainly playing on positions, like short and like gap here, taking these kind of fights if the AWPer isn't here. And the reason for this is because it's a lot easier for him to rotate out and back out of this position, rather than your A anchor, who's more commonly found toward ramp, getting out of those positions. But overall, your A rotator, is just kind of the second gunner on the A site. He's going to be the one. He's going to be the one sometimes supporting you on A and taking fights, trading the anchor, initially if he dies. You kind of want to think as the duo between the A anchor and the A rotator on Vertigo ramp to be like your two guys on banana. One's the rotator and one's the anchor, so playing the same kind of system like that. Okay, and then I've mentioned these two roles quite together here, but now we're in the A anchor role. So the A anchor again is working very much with the A rotation player. You're going to be the main two guys holding down the ramp. So your A anchor's goal position really is to get into something like this, position like this where he can jump peek, using as little utility as possible to take the ramp. And then when he sees contact, he can, throw this one way here. He doesn't have to use it, but if he does, he's got vision, fully down the ramp. Your A anchor is going to obviously be one you want to rotate last toward any other part of the map. He's going to want to stay on A and hold it down as best he can. So again, if they're heavy mid or they're heavy B, your A anchor might be the guy that you get down, into this corner here for early info, or if you get any, any further info, maybe even down in a corner like this. But like all the other anchors I've kind of mentioned previously, your A anchor's job is to basically hold down the A ramp, the A top ramp, and the A site as best they can, and stop the T's from taking space quickly and delay the inevitable push. So that's kind of it for the Vertigo CT and T side positions. I know I've covered each position quite quickly here, but as hopefully you're starting to see on most of the maps, there's certain positions which have very similar philosophies even though they're different maps. So the anchors a lot of the time, obviously their jobs are just to hold down sites and use their utility effectively to stop pushes. The rotators are the guys that rotate off, the soonest of the site. They normally support the anchors. If hits are coming in, or they're going to be the guys. These are normally going to be, some of your better riflers you might set up for plays on the CT side. And similarly, the AWPer's role, just being versatile on the CT side, similar as the T side. So these videos probably, for the next two, maybe get shorter for overpass, because again, the roles are pretty similar to certain maps, and certain positions hold similar philosophies, but Nuke will be a slightly different video.